Hi everyone, welcome back to Crooked River Homestead. Today we are making some blueberry jam here in the camper. So I'm just going to be going over, I thought I had done a video before on canning jam, so I'll do the best I can in instructing you along the way. But our process is going to be a little bit different here in the RV, in the camper. We have been putting water from our well on our onboard water tank. The well isn't fully installed, you would say. We've been pulling water from the top of the well, and we haven't sanitized our tank here on board. So we're going to be using spring water from the local spring that we get it, and we're going to be washing everything in that water and boiling everything in that water and canning everything in that water. So we're going to get started here. I am using frozen blueberries, and this is a 3-pound bag, and it's perfect for the recipe I'm going to be using. So I warmed up the spring water on the stove, so we have nice hot water to wash these jars in. And we're gonna wash the rings and our lids. We have brand new lids. Countertop water dispenser that we have, it's hooked up to a 4-gallon bucket on the floor. We've only had it a day so far. It's working well, but that's what I'm going to be using. This is also spring water that I'm rinsing the jars with. Okay, so I have my pot back on the stove here. I rinsed out all the soapiness. And so we're going to get ready to sterilize our jars, but you can't just put the jars at the bottom of the pan. You have to put some kind of rack so they're not touching the bottom. And we want the water, see, the water's not going to be deep enough, I don't think. It has to be like, I like to have it a couple inches above the jars. I think we need an inch for the canning process, but you always lose some with evaporation. So this is supposed to make about 9 cups. And we have half-pint jars in there. All right, we're gonna pour some more water in here. Okay, so we've got about a couple inches above the jars. We're gonna get these boiling, and they have to boil for 10 minutes to get them sterilized. So while our jars are getting up to boiling, just getting other things ready. And normally I would have my blueberries also warming up, but I'm very limited on space here in the RV on the stovetop. There's no way I could fit another big pot here. So we're going to sterilize the jars first, and then we'll get the blueberries on there and get that going, get the jam piece of it going. But what I'm using today is Shore Gel, and this is the lower sugar version. But you're still using 4.5 cups of sugar for this recipe, and it's going to make 9 cups of jam. So it's less sugar than the regular Shore Gel, which I think requires like 9 cups, like almost double. Eventually, once I use up my Shore Gel that I have, I want to switch over to Pomona's Pectin. I've never tried it before, so if you have any tips on using Pomona's Pectin, I would appreciate it. With Pomona's Pectin, you can control the amount of sugar. You can have like no sugar and much lower sugar than this one. And I don't like to pay full price for this. I like to buy it at the end of the summer when the stores are clearancing the Shore Gel. So I paid $1.99 for this one. And they're normally like $3 to $4, at least last year when I checked. So they do have instructions for any kind of jam that you want to make. And I'm following the instructions for the blueberry jam. So we're going to need 4.5 cups of sugar. And I got that 3-pound of blueberries defrosting right now. So here are my blueberries in this pot here. And I've got my 4.5 cups of sugar ready to go. Speaking of sugar, if you're repurposing glass containers, please don't use a small neck container like this one. This is the last one that I did that to. It's just a little difficult to get the sugar back out because it does tend to clump a little bit, and you got to get in there with a smaller kitchen tool to kind of break up the sugar. So anyway, it's not a brick of sugar or anything, but just to save you some frustration. So we have our packet of pectin here. So we're gonna put that in this bowl, and so this is the 4.5 cups of sugar, and they want us to take 1/4 cup of it and mix it with the pectin. So we're gonna do that, and we're just gonna set it aside because that's gonna be at the very end of the jam making process. Okay, so we just pulled the jars off of the burner. They were boiling for 10 minutes. Certainly if you have a regular stove, you can leave these on the stove, but they're gonna stay nice and hot until I'm ready to pour the jam. And so I have my blueberries on kind of a medium heat because they're still kind of frozen. And we're going to get this to a full boil. And I misspoke earlier. We're not going to be putting the bulk of the sugar until the very end. What we're actually putting in with the blueberries now is the 1/4 cup of sugar that we pulled and the pectin. So we're going to add that now, get it stirred in, and I'll bring it back. I also have my lids here covered with water. I'm going to get it up to like a low simmer just to warm up the lids and get them sterilized a little bit. So we have our blueberries up to a full rolling boil. That's a tongue twister. And we're going to add the remainder of the sugar and get it back up to a boil and boil it for 1 minute. Okay, so our jam boiled for a minute at full boil, and so we're ready to rock and roll here. Okay, so we're gonna grab our hot jars here from the water, empty them out. Hopefully you can see everything I'm doing. So we're just gonna fill the jars to within a 1/4 inch of headspace. So just guesstimating there. I think we'll probably need a little more. So 1/4 inch is the first little step here. So no, we're not touching yet. So we're just going to add a little more. Okay, we're there. So now we're just going to, just have a wet paper towel here. You can use a cloth, just wiping the rim of the jar, making sure there's no residue so we get a good seal. And got my little magnetic tool here. Just gonna grab a lid from the hot water. Put it on. So just be careful. This jar is very tight, so they want you to screw the lid on tight. And it's going to go back in the water. And we'll grab another jar. So yay, we have 8 half pints in there. The recipe said we would get 9, but that's okay. I always seem to be a little short on the last one, but I think we're going to have great success here. So I have them back in the boiling water, and there's definitely like 2, maybe 3 inches of water on top of the jars. We're going to get this back up to boiling and boil it for 5 minutes. And I can already tell we're going to have great success here because you can already tell that it's already gelling as it's on the cool metal here. So we did have enough, but you know, maybe enough for breakfast in the morning, but certainly not enough for another jar. So yummy. Smells great. Okay, so actually for the jam, it's 10 minutes for processing time, and it also depends on your altitude, but we're 1,000 feet below sea level, so we're doing a 10-minute processing time, and just have to refresh my memory on some of these things because it has been a while since I've canned, a little over a year. So 10 minutes is over. We're going to get our jam out. And have a nice thick towel here on the counter. You don't want any temperature shock as you take them out. All right, we're gonna get rid of a layer here. There we go. I don't want them falling over. Don't worry if there's a little bit of water on top of the jars, that will evaporate. And before long, you'll hear the nice little popping of the lids sealing. So these are actually going to cool overnight. And we will check. Make sure they're sealed in the morning. And I'll bring you back for that because we're also going to wash the jars. Make sure that we're going to take the rings off and wash the jars, make sure there's no bacteria. I'll be so happy to get these on the shelf, and I just wanted to show you that we did get a half a jar out of what was left in the pan, in the pot. So it's so much cheaper to make your own. Once you learn how to do it, it's pretty easy. And if you have a full-size kitchen, it's much easier than what I did today. But these are, you know, I paid $8.24 for the bag of blueberries, the frozen blueberries, and then you add the cost of the sugar, 4.5 cups of sugar. It's much cheaper than buying it at the grocery store. If you've ever priced out blueberry jam, it's like at least $5 to $6 for a small jar. And we haven't found any that have compared to how this comes out. Well, we will continue this in the morning, and thanks for joining me this afternoon.
I'll keep praying to heaven and fighting like hell.